So we're now going to look at how you can create 2D drawings from your Fusion 360 designs, and the way you do that is switch out of the model environment into the drawing workspace. And we've got two different options for the drawing workspace: drawing from design, which is the one we're going to choose, or drawing from animation, which may be if you've created an exploded view in the animation workspace, then you can create a 2D drawing of that exploded view. We're going to choose the drawing from design option, and the first thing that crops up is a dialog box asking you a number of different questions. It wants to know what sheet size you want to use, what units, what projection system, whether you want to use the template that Fusion 360 has automatically loaded or your own template for the drawing sheet. And also, because this is an assembly of parts, it wants to know whether you want to create a drawing of the full assembly. If I untick that box, it now allows me to select individual components if I want to just create a component drawing for maybe the linkage. I'm actually going to leave full assembly ticked because I'm going to show in this video how you can create both an assembly drawing as a 2D drawing and also the sub-assembly component drawings all within the same drawing set. So I'm going to click OK, and that's going to take me to the drawing workspace. Now, the drawing workspace, you'll notice the first thing is across the top here there's a new tab opened up, and that's because drawings are held as a separate file in Fusion 360 in the project area, but they are linked back to the model that generated it. So that's what this new tab that's opened up is. If you at any point create a drawing and then afterwards you go and modify the part that it came from, the next time you open up the drawing for that part, it will tell you that drawing is now out of date. You'll see some yellow warning triangles, and that's your opportunity then to update it and bring it into line with the latest model information. So the drawing will always sync back to the model if you give it that opportunity. So the first thing is we're going to continue our usual journey from left to right. We've got a different ribbon here, but the journey is still the same from left to right, and the first option is to create a base view. So a base view should, I think, represent the best view of your part with the most information that you can get into it, and maybe that front view isn't it in this case. So I can change that from this dialog box. I can pick maybe the right view, and that looks like that's a better view because you can see more of the components more clearly in this particular view. I can choose the style from here. I can choose whether I want visible edges, visible and hidden edges, or whether I wanted it shaded or shaded with hidden edges. I can change the scale, so maybe if I wanted it 1:1, that looks probably a little large for the sheet, so I'm going to go back to 1:2. And when I'm happy with that, I can actually find a space on the sheet that I actually want to put that particular base view into. So I'm going to click on that point and then click OK. We can now create projected views from our base view. So click on the base view, and if I drag away to the right, it's going to create me the frontal view of that part. If I grab and then drag down vertically, it's going to create the top view of that part, and if I drag away at an angle, it's going to give me an isometric view of that part. And once I'm happy with those views, I can click enter and it creates them on the screen. Now maybe at this point I also want to put a sectional view, so I can create a section through there and then drag that away to give me a projection of that sectional view. If I want to create a detail view maybe on a specific area, I can pick on a point and drag that away to create a much bigger view of that particular area of the leg. And now I can move and start juggling these things around, so I can actually move these around if necessary. So I can move that view perhaps a little more into the corner, and perhaps I want to move this view a little bit further upwards. So I can move my views around to generate my drawing, and now I can move to this geometry area, and this allows me to put things in such as center lines. So I can click on two edges and it will create the center line between them. So the two sides of the servo block creates a center line through it. I can create centers for circles, so this option, the center mark option, will allow me to pick on a circle and it will generate the center point for that circle, and that can be useful for dimensioning, which you'll see in a second. There's another couple of options there, but now we can actually move to the dimension tool and start creating dimensions on our component. So I'll pick on a couple of points and it will generate that dimension. Maybe I'll pick on these two centers of the circles using the center marks we've just created, and that creates that dimension. If at any point you need to edit a dimension, maybe you need to put a tolerance on it. If you double click on it, it brings it up as a you can change the precision, so the number of decimal points that it uses, and you can insert symbols. So there's a plus or minus symbol, for instance, here, and if I zoom in on that and then click on this, maybe I put in a tolerance in that particular part, and that's now added a tolerance dimension onto that. So you can add tolerances onto your dimensions once you've created them just by double clicking on them. I can create text, so maybe I want to put a text block somewhere, so I'm just going to put that, show you quickly how to do that. So what you'll notice is down in the title block, it's already put my name, today's date, and the title of this that it knows from the file that it came from. You can edit this, so if you double click on it, it brings up a title block, and you can edit the information that goes into that if necessary. So I've created some text. I can also create a leader line, and I'll show you that in a second. We've got some symbols options here, and then we've got this tables option, and the table option will allow me just to drag into the workspace maybe a table of contents for this particular part. So it knows the names of the parts that we gave it as components in the model file, and it knows the materials that all of those parts are made from. So that does that. Maybe now I've got this and I've got the item numbers. Perhaps I'll go back and use the leader line tool to actually drag away, and that is item 4, so that's the leg. So I can go around and create perhaps another leader line here for the servo block, which is item number 3. So I can use those to actually bring up and link back to this table of contents. At the end of this, I can then output this, so I'll do a save and then save that, and it will save it within Fusion 360's project workspace. But I can also select to output this as maybe a PDF. So if I want this as a portable document, I can create a PDF version of it, and there's also a DWG and CSV option to choose from here. So that's created our first base drawing. In the second video, I'm just going to show you how you can continue now and create the component drawings that are added on to this particular main assembly drawing.